Hey! Hi! How you doing? This is Ryan, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. Now, we're all human. We all make mistakes, we all make some poor life choices, we all have some bad opinions, bad takes from time to time. Whether we came to these misguided conclusions from ignorance or misunderstanding, when you're wrong, and you just gotta accept that you got something wrong. You then learn from this, and move on. We are all guilty of this. This has happened to all of us, myself included. And speaking of myself as a content creator, when it comes to this profession, there are a great many of us who get things wrong all the time, and we put out some bad videos, some bad takes. It's inevitable, which is why constructive criticism, genuine constructive criticism, is so valuable. Lest we content creators suffer the horrible fate of our egos becoming so bloated that we turn into narcissists. There are few fates worse than becoming someone who thinks their shit doesn't smell. Because of course, how will you ever grow and better yourself as a person if you think yourself infallible? However, sometimes the audiences of various content creators fail to keep them in check and allow for terrible ideas to fester. Which is why, and when, you see various content creators such as myself respond to, react to, and roast our fellow content creators. This is one such video. Now, I'm sure if you're a fan of Halo and watching videos about Halo on YouTube, you've most likely heard of or seen videos from Luke of the YouTube channel HiddenXperia's. Now, I'm subscribed to Luke, and I like a fair share of his videos, but a couple months ago, he uploaded some really bad videos containing some truly awful takes back to back. The I Miss Map Packs video and the Downfall of Horde Modes video. Now, with the Downfall of Horde Modes video, there's a conversation to be had there. There are some fair arguments that could possibly be made, but the Map Packs video? Oof. Just terrible takes, terrible reasoning. Map packs were awful, they were always awful, and they should stay dead and buried. The implication made in this video that games were better with map packs, that map packs made games better overall, that the gaming industry would somehow be better if we brought back map packs, is borderline delusional. Map packs were responsible for the death of many a multiplayer game by splitting player bases and segregating communities between the haves and the have-nots. But apparently, Luke doesn't think that was an issue. Of course, he's wrong, but let's break down how and why he's wrong by going through his video step by step, point by point, and breaking it all down. So hopefully that he, himself, and all of the poor souls who actually liked this video can learn and grow from this experience. We all get it wrong sometimes, and we need a good roasting to set us straight. I may be a couple months late to the party here, but I have time now, so let us begin.
I'm gonna be honest, I think we're all kind of close enough now for me to tell you guys the truth. I miss map packs. I look at how the monetization of gaming has evolved over the last 10 or 15 years, going from mostly optional and additive content.
While I will concur with Luke that DLC map packs were indeed additive, and that a lot of modern video game monetization is most certainly not, to imply that modern video game monetization isn't optional is absurd. Modern day battle passes and cosmetics are most certainly optional. You don't need them to enjoy a video game. They do not improve or enhance a gameplay experience, which makes them all the easier to ignore.
The Mythic Map Pack can be yours for a one-time payment of 800 Microsoft points.
To poisoning core elements of a game's design, and I can't help but think that we've regressed.
Come on now, Luke. Let's be honest with me, be honest with yourself, be honest with your audience. This has nothing to do with the video game industry as a whole. This is just you upset with the current state of Halo and Halo Infinite. So now, with this video, instead of making it solely about Halo Infinite, you've decided to project onto the whole of the video game industry and completely mischaracterize its current state, because if you played other video games besides Halo and Call of Duty, you would know most games that have ditched map packs have not, quote-unquote, poisoned core elements of their design. This mainly applies to Halo and Call of Duty, and you fucking know it. This projection is really gross, dude. You're better than this.
But this must be just nostalgia talking, right?
Yes, 100%, yes.
Surely you don't think a map pack is a better form of paid content than a skin, right? I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
They can both be bad in different ways, but still both bad. One being worse than the other. Simple, straightforward question, ladies and gentlemen. What would you rather prefer to receive for free in your favorite video game, whether it be PvP multiplayer or PvE co-op? A map or a cosmetic skin? I don't know about you, but I'm gonna pick the free map. Every time. Maps in video games are actual, meaningful, gameplay-affecting content. A cosmetic in a video game is just that. A cosmetic. It's frivolous. Luke, if you honestly believe and honestly prefer that maps go back to being sold to us instead of added into games for free as they currently are now, well, I gotta say, your sense of material value is fucked.
The main reason that I think map packs are so underrated, especially in today's day and age, is because barring a few examples like Halo 3 that didn't exactly manage its map packs very well, the addition of map packs had no adverse effect on those who didn't buy them. They were entirely optional.
Luke, this is straight up objectively false and you borderline lying here. However, in good faith, I will assume this is just ignorance and misunderstanding. Map packs most certainly, absolutely had an effect on those who didn't buy them. Players who only bought the base version of a game were stuck with the base starter maps. Obviously, you all know this, no duh. So, those who bought the map packs of these various multiplayer games had access to the base maps and the DLC maps. But let's be reasonable, let's be rational here. Most players who spent extra money on these DLC maps wanted to play on these DLC maps that they paid for, so they would actively only play the DLC content and not the base game, leaving players who only bought the base game and only played the base game less people to play with in the base game. Meaning, specific game modes and playlists within these games lost significant player population, some so drastically to the point where certain game modes and playlists became unplayable because not enough people were playing them. Because the multiplayer player base was split. Not everyone in the multiplayer ecosystem was engaging with one another. You had the people who bought the extra DLC playing with each other, and the people who didn't just stuck in the base game. With both sides of the coin, the people in the base game and the people in the DLC just having less people to play with and engage with overall. But you should know this, Luke. You lived through this. Why do I need to explain this to you? There's a reason, a very good reason, why map packs became infamous and lambasted and looked down upon, and why so many video game companies moved away from them after years of criticism. 'Cause they split multiplayer player bases and segregated the communities. Luke, there's a reason why your video, despite having more likes than dislikes, as disturbing as that is, there's a reason why despite your video's overall positive reception, my comment on your video, pointing out these obvious faults with map packs, is the top comment in your comment section with the most likes. Which means, just statistically speaking, a number of people who even agree with you find it bizarre that you never brought up this obvious fault with multiplayer maps and actively tried to spin this false narrative that they had no faults and didn't damage multiplayer games. Map packs absolutely, most certainly had adverse effects on those who didn't buy them. Players who didn't purchase the map packs had less people to play with in the base game. And game modes and playlists that they used to enjoy would no longer be playable due to a lack of players having less people to play with because a portion of them were exclusively playing the DLC content that they paid for. You are wrong, good sir. You are objectively wrong.
You could buy them to play more maps and maybe even a new playlist or game mode, but if you didn't buy them, then the regular game still existed unaltered for you to enjoy. All they did was provide an optional add-on experience for those who were interested.
You mean just like modern day battle passes and cosmetics? Modern day monetization, battle passes and cosmetics are not somehow stopping people from playing the base versions of their video games. Luke, what the fuck even is this point? Battle passes and cosmetics are optional, and everyone can still enjoy their base gameplay experiences without them. This is a dreadfully irrational, illogical point. I have no idea why you're making this. It holds no water under scrutiny, and when making actual legitimate comparisons.
Now consider modern monetization, battle passes and item stores. Their integration isn't even remotely as considerate to those who choose not to buy them.
This is wrong. This is just objectively wrong. This is absurd, Luke. I can't believe you're actually trying to claim that battle passes and cosmetics are intrusive and inconsiderate to those who don't buy them. You don't need a battle pass or a cosmetic to enjoy gameplay in a video game. Moving in a video game, engaging in mechanics in a video game, shooting bad guys or other players in a video game doesn't somehow feel better because you're progressing through a battle pass or you own a specific cosmetic. Why are you imposing such a ridiculous amount of value onto progression systems and cosmetics? And this is coming from someone who actually really likes progression systems and cosmetics. I like both these things in video games, but neither of them will matter. I won't give a shit about either of them if the gameplay isn't of quality, and if there isn't enough meaningful, playable content to facilitate engaging with that gameplay over and over again. I say yet again, Luke, just based off this video, your priorities and sense of material value is fucked if you are more concerned with receiving progression systems and cosmetics for free rather than maps. Maps, which are actual, meaningful, interactive gameplay content.
There's this myth that they're better simply because they allow for content, like maps or game modes, that once would have been paid, to be given out to everybody for free. But the cost of this to the overall experience for everyone is actually drastically higher.
Nah, that's just you, Luke. You value progression systems and cosmetics more than actual meaningful gameplay content. Please don't project onto the rest of us. Honestly, that's very rude of you.
Where map packs only improve the experience for the select few who bought them,
Emphasis on the select few, Luke! Select few! Oh my god, the obvious problems with map packs are staring him in the face, but he just can't grasp the answer. It's right in front of him, staring him down, but alas, it's painful to watch and painful to listen to. Before, in older multiplayer titles, only a select few got to enjoy new DLC maps. Now, everyone gets to enjoy new maps when they come out. Just keep this in mind, everybody. Luke would rather that most people lose out on experiencing and enjoying new, free, meaningful gameplay content just so he can play dress up in Halo. He would rather you all get less free content to enjoy if it meant he could have access to a modern virtual Barbie doll dress up simulator. Luke, my dude, you gotta realize this is a bad look. It makes you come off as so selfish, but in good faith, I will assume this was not the intention and that you just didn't go over your script thoroughly enough and didn't catch just how bad this makes you sound.
modern microtransactions negatively impact the experience for everyone, regardless of whether you spent $100 on them or absolutely nothing.
Objectively false. You are putting way too much value on battle passes and cosmetics, my dude. Gameplay matters more than cosmetics, always have, always will. Please stop projecting, because that's all this is. Projection.
Because of how intrinsically baked into games they've become, there's really no escaping them nowadays.
What? No. Yes, they are. They're so easy to ignore. Just don't visit the shops. Don't buy any cosmetics. Just play the game. It's that simple. Have some self-control, Luke. That's really all it takes.
Progression systems and unlock systems, once beloved, alluring elements of multiplayer games that would provide most of their longevity, have been tainted and contorted by battle passes and item stores.
That's just Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield, and you fucking know it, Luke. Come on. That's not the whole of the video game industry. There are many, many modern multiplayer video games that don't engage in these practices, that have perfectly antiquated and familiar progression systems of many games of old. Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield do not represent all of gaming. Here's a crazy idea. Expand your video gaming horizons and play something else. Stop hyper-focusing on AAA multiplayer shooters and you will find that your beloved progression systems and cosmetic unlocks are still intact in many a game. This isn't a general entirety of the video game industry problem. This is a you being lazy problem. And of all the things to be lazy over, you're being lazy over finding new video games to play because unfortunately you're one of those people that can't let go of certain franchises and IPs and refuse to seek out and try new things.
As my good friend Late Night Gaming put it, there doesn't seem to be a clear line anymore where progression ends and monetization begins.
If you only play Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield, then yeah, you know what? That's a fair argument to make. There's a conversation to be had there. Too bad you made this video about gaming as a whole. This video would have been substantially less awful had you just focused on those big free AAA multiplayer shooters. But no, alas, you had to generalize and project. What a shame.
Games have their feature sets picked apart like a corpse to figure out which system or feature is the most monetizable, and then they get reassembled like a Frankenstein ATM. Halo Infinite didn't even bother launching with a staple Halo progression system, and it's likely not going to be getting one for up to 2 years after launch, and the only means of unlocking armor, without of course going to the item store, is via the Battle Pass, which is also the only form of progression in the entire game, and also just so happens to be monetized. Modern COD has done away with the traditional prestige system that was a beloved, iconic staple of the series, and now implements hard level caps that gradually increase with each season, so you're driven to the monetized Battle Pass to scratch that progression itch.
Oh man, it's such a shame. There was a good video buried in here. Had you just made this video about Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield, I'd agree with you. These are fair critiques of Halo and Call of Duty. But you had to go and make it about multiplayer video games as a whole and just poison what fair critiques you had. Also, Luke, why is it only these two narrow options with you? It's either we have these terrible progression systems, or we go back to Map Pack DLC, which was also terrible. Why can't we find a middle ground, where multiplayer games still receive new maps and modes for free, but also ship with fully complete and engaging progression systems? We don't have to trade one evil for another. We can find a neutral good, like many modern video games have already found. And you can find them yourself if you just stop hyper-focusing on mainstream AAA multiplayer shooters.
Just because spending money on an item store or a battle pass is technically optional doesn't mean that they don't intrude on the overall experience.
Luke, you have yet to prove or provide any substantial arguments that having optional battle passes and cosmetics for purchase affect the gameplay of video games. For God's sakes, man! The color of my gun, whether it's the default color scheme or it's colored pink, it doesn't change how the weapon feels during gameplay. For God's sakes, the very games you're showcasing and complaining about having terrible progression systems and cosmetic microtransactions still have thousands of people playing these games despite their issues because they enjoy the gameplay. They enjoy the act of playing the actual video game. Would these games be objectively better if they stripped away the cosmetic microtransactions and implemented proper, robust progression systems? Yes, they would absolutely be objectively better. That doesn't somehow mean we should bring back map packs which were still objectively bad and made games objectively worse.
But my heart yearns for the return of map packs for more reasons than just this. I don't want to feed into modern monetization, but I do miss when I could help support a game's continued development post-launch and actually receive something worthwhile for it.
Luke! Make up your fucking mind! You just went on a whole tangent on how important cosmetics and progression systems are to you, and now you're saying they're not as worthwhile as maps. Dude! You're debunking yourself! You're admitting that maps are more worthwhile content. So players are getting more worthwhile content for free. Come on, man, you can't make this shit up. Did you proofread your script at all?
You see, map packs were a kind of monetization that provided a genuine experience for your money.
And now we receive those genuine experiences for free. So let me get this straight. You're upset and complaining that you're receiving these genuine worthwhile experiences for free instead of having to pay for them. I guess fuck poor people, right? Who couldn't afford these genuine worthwhile experiences in the past and now can receive them for free. Only gamers, man. Only gamers could complain about receiving free quality content.
Experiences that created memories. Buying the World at War map packs in 2009, I knew I was going to get 3 multiplayer maps that I'd spend God knows how many hours playing, and a new Zombies map that would probably consume my life for the next month or 2 until the next one came out. For 800 Microsoft points, I was getting God knows how many hours of fun and entertainment.
And now people with limited, frugal budgets can create their own memories experiencing this content that is now free to them. Luke, this is starting to get worrying. Why do you want video game developers and publishers to start providing less free content to the masses and start paywalling this content again, excluding people? You go on and on about how additional content to games gave you great memories, but you want to have that taken away from people who couldn't afford this stuff back in the day? You want to rob people of future happy memories all in some vain, irrational, illogical hope that it will somehow give you back the ability to play Barbie dress-up in Halo again? Dude, can I get a crumb, just a measly crumb of empathy for those less fortunate than you?
And what's better is they actually had bang for their buck. Granted, it was, 14 years ago. But spending 800 Microsoft points, around $10 on Dorice, probably created more fond memories for me than almost anything I've spent money on in the last 2 years.
More than anything you've spent money on in the last 2 years? Luke, what the fuck are you buying? What gaming content are you purchasing with your money? Just last year, 2022, we got Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, Splatoon 3, Tunic, Pentiment, Cult of the Lamb, Xenoblade Chronicles Free, Neon White, Return to Monkey Island, Bayonetta Free, Rollerdrome, Immortality, A Plague Tale Requiem, Metal Hellsinger, and so many more spectacular video games. So you're telling me you either spent money on none of those products, or you're some fucking lunatic that enjoys a Call of Duty Zombies map more than those exceptional video games. Either way, my dude, this is a bad look.
But I mean, compared to how games are monetized nowadays, call me crazy, but I'd take a season pass any day. Buying a game and having it come day one with a fully fledged long-term progression system, with a huge volume of cosmetic content unlocked via achievements, challenges, progression milestones, and other cool feats in-game, and then having the option to pay $60 on top of that, or if you want to get pedantic, adjusted for inflation, $78.18 for a guaranteed year's worth of extra maps and modes? Fuck man, that sounds like a dream.
It's not a dream. It's a reality. It still happens today in other video games, just not in Halo and Call of Duty. Just play other video games besides Halo and Call of Duty. Luke, honestly, at this point, this is just self-imposed misery. Just play other games, and your problem is solved. Play AA, middle market, and indie games, and your problem is solved. Play Monster Hunter, or Warframe, or dare I say it, Destiny, and your problem is solved, because all of those games have exactly what you're asking for. Ugh, fucking gamers, man. They're exhausting.
Now, although map packs may have gone the way of the dodo nowadays, their big brother, expansions, are still kinda going strong.
Kinda? Luke, what do you mean by kinda? Expansions never went anywhere, they never faded in popularity or financial success, so what are you... Oh, of course, yet again, hyper-focusing on the big AAA mainstream multiplayer first-person shooters. My bad, doy. Also, god damn it, Luke, why are we moving the goalpost? This video was about PvP multiplayer. Now we're bringing in single-player and PvE co-op games into the mix? This just muddies the waters so much.
Destiny's expansions that sell entirely new campaigns, factions, raids, and locations continue to do extremely well, as do World of Warcraft's, with each expansion seeing successively higher sales than the last, so maybe there is a future out there where we see other games adopt a style of monetization where you're buying actual content again.
Once again, Monster Hunter and its successful expansions are woefully ignored. And Luke, what the fuck? There are so many modern video games where you can buy actual meaningful content in them. All you have to do is look away from Halo and Call of Duty and look at other less mainstream AAA games, middle market AA games, and indie games, and they still have expansions and meaningful DLC content you can purchase. It's not that hard to find. This is just self-imposed ignorance. All you would have had to do is just browse Steam, lightly browse Steam, and you would see why your statements are so flawed.
The sad reality is, outside of a few exceptions, the days of meaningful monetization content I think are just truly over, because modern monetization is just far easier, far cheaper, and quicker to make.
Tell me you barely play any video games without telling me you barely play any video games. This is just an admittance that you only play Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, and mainstream AAA multiplayer shooters, Luke. Come on now. You couldn't even humor me with a simple Google search to see how that statement is objectively false. If we were exclusively talking about popular mainstream multiplayer shooter games like Halo and Call of Duty, then yes, I would agree with you. I'd argue that you have a point. Those specific franchises, those specific IPs will continue to chase profitable monetization trends. But you had to fuck up whatever good points you had by making this about all of gaming. This could have been a good video, but you had to generalize and project.
But people just kind of seem happy with the trade-off of free maps and modes for the gutting of progression and unlock systems.
Yes, Luke, because maps and modes are meaningful gameplay content that, you can actually play. Hate to break this to you, but the majority of adults who have families and jobs don't give a fuck about progression systems and cosmetic unlocks. They just want to play the actual video game, not play virtual dress-up.
It's all personal preference at the end of the day, right? Everyone likes different things, but for me personally, map packs are just better for the overall health of the game.
Stop right there, Luke. This isn't personal preference. One is objectively worse than the other. Map packs provably negatively affected multiplayer video games and their player bases. Splitting player bases, dividing communities, outright killing certain game modes and playlists in multiplayer games. You can't try and shield yourself from any and all criticism from the statements you made by just going, oh, it's just personal preference, it's just my opinion, bro. Take responsibility for the things you say. You made bad arguments. You made irrational, illogical arguments that don't hold up to scrutiny, that don't hold up to facts or statistics. And it didn't need to be this way. You could have made this video exclusively about Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, etc., but you decided for some reason to make this video about video gaming as a whole. And here's the thing, video gaming as a whole is actually the solution to your woes. Your issue isn't the lack of map packs in modern video games. Your issue is you don't branch out and play enough new different video games. There is an overwhelming plethora of choice in modern video games that have the progression systems and the cosmetic unlocks that you crave. Just play other games besides Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield, and you'll find them. Look, in conclusion, just play Deep Rock Galactic, you coward.
Rock and stone! Cheers, Mike!
Anyways, that's been a video. Thank you for watching. If you did indeed enjoy the video, please consider hitting the like button and leaving a comment. If you want to help out and support the video, then please share it on social media, Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook. And if you want to help out and support me directly, please consider making a donation via the YouTube Super Thanks feature or by clicking on the links to my Buy Me a Coffee or Ko-Fi pages in the description down below. Anyways, once again, that's been a video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.